Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Yoga Girl podcast. We're recording this from Sober Girls Club on Sunday morning. And the guest that we have this week, which I'm really excited about, is Renee Jernigan. And Renee has been part of our community for a long, long time. We were actually just chatting about it as before we started recording, but she started out with us a few years ago in the 30-day sober girls yoga challenge. And now she's gone on to do the 200-hour YTT and several of the advanced courses. She came on the Mexico retreat, and it's just been amazing watching her grow and expand and learn over the past few years. And yeah, so welcome, Renee.
Thank
And
you.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit, give us some context into your sobriety story.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to share a little bit about that. I was a drinker for many decades. Like most people, it was how I celebrated, how I decompress, if I had a stressful day, I had a drink. Um, and I won't go too much into like how it all started or anything. I'm going to kind of go more towards maybe the last 10 years or so. Maybe the last decade is when I started to think about possibly being alcohol free. And really, it started as like challenges at a gym. I joined like a CrossFit type gym, and we would do these health challenges where we would work out and eat really healthy for like a month. And a lot of times I would quit drinking during that, kind of like a dry January type experience. So I'm just like a 30-day challenge or something. And so I kind of experimented with the alcohol free lifestyle through that, but I never really thought like I'm going to go for it and just be completely alcohol free. Like my whole family drinks, everyone around me drinks, my husband drinks, all my friend drinks. So I never really thought like it could be a lifestyle for me. It just didn't even really cross my mind that that would be the case. So I continued like that for a few years, just doing like, dry Januaries, just real quick stints of alcohol free living. And I felt really good during that period. I felt so much better when I wasn't drinking. But like I said, never really occurred to me to like let that stick. Um, but then maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, my body started to change. I'm in my 40s, and so I hit perimenopause and I started having anxiety and hot flashes, and I developed these food sensitivities that were just really wreaking havoc on my health. And, I wondered, could drinking, not be helping with that? And I'm sure that's the case, but I didn't really want to address that. It seemed like such a hard thing to do with everyone around me, continuing to drink. And that's just like how the society is where I live. I live in the States, and that's just what we do in the South. Like I said, we celebrate with a drink, we decompress with a drink. It's just so ingrained in our culture. So I never really considered it like yeah, I'm going to try to quit, for these reasons or anything. But it was like in the back of my mind. So that was kind of like another little spark there. And then 5 years ago, my mom passed away, and it was very sudden. We thought she was in great health, but just so fast. And it just rocked my world. Like my whole world shifted. I was talking with someone last night, and I was like, it's like there's a line. It was like before she passed away, and then when she passed away, and like my whole world just changed. And I really started thinking about, through the grief process and going through all the things that you go through when someone super close to you passes away like that. Just, what are we doing here? Like what's what's our purpose here? What am I doing? Am I missing everything by not being present? Am I missing life? Am I missing everything that's happening around me? Is this how I want to be in relationships with people? And just thinking along those lines, I just knew deep in my heart. I was like, that's it. I've got to release this thing that is standing in the way of me being present, is standing in the way of me developing, deep relationships with people and standing in the way of who knows what, like who, I had no idea, like, is this all there is? I go to work, I work out, I do the things that I'm supposed to do, but is this it? And I think that drinking was just standing in the way of a lot of things. And, I went back and forth. I'm not going to say it was all like easy breezy and, sunshine and rainbows to try to cut that out. But, I did several, back and forth stints of not drinking, and then, very long stints or long stints of not drinking, and then like little bursts of drinking. And then about 2.5 years ago, that was it. I had my last drink and just have been alcohol free since. And it's just completely transformed my life. Like my life looks completely different than it did previously. My health is so much better. Like that's a huge thing. Like I feel better, my health is better, my food sensitivities are better, all the perimenopause symptoms, and of course I'm in menopause now, but, but all those symptoms are drastically different and reduced. And just my life looks different. My relationships are better. I connect with people on a different level. I think I thought that I was connecting with people when I was drinking. Like I would be more relaxed and more socially, less socially anxious. And so I'll be able to connect with people. But that actually wasn't true. And I don't know. I don't know if you can relate to that, but it wasn't true for me anyway. I connect with people on a much deeper level when I'm actually present with them, and I'm able to be present being alcohol free. So I've done so many things since ditching the drink. I have, joined a lot of your programs, Alex, and had a lot of fun doing that. I've connected with your community, group of just amazing, amazing people. Um, I did a 200-hour yoga teacher training, which I always wanted to do, but never thought I had the time for or the headspace for. And I've done that, and I've become a yoga teacher, and I have started teaching yoga in my own community this year, and just have really loved that and thrived through that. And just, I can't even like, I couldn't even have imagined that this is what my life would look like by just changing this one thing. And I feel like just changing my perspective around that, changing the way I thought around it, changing my headspace around it has just completely transformed my life. And it's just so cool.
Amazing. Wow. As you speak, I just think it's so inspiring. And when I think of these people like you, who I've only known you really in your sobriety, like even thinking back to a time when you were still drinking, like it just feels like you have um, gone on such an upward trajectory and accomplished so many things. Like I can't even imagine you as like a not sober person, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard for me to imagine myself that way, even though I know it very well. But yeah, it's been a while now. And I mean, 2.5 years, it's been a good while that I've been living this way. And it just feels so natural. Yeah. It feels so good.
So I'm wondering, so you speak about the change that sparked things, which is like the change of stopping drinking, and then all of the changes that kind of came from that. And our theme this morning, we're talking about the changes in sobriety and embracing change. And I'm just wondering, like, what do you think are some of the biggest barriers that people experience when it comes to change?
Yeah. So I think the thing that creates the most suffering is our resistance to change, right? So wishing things could be different, wishing things didn't have to be that way. When I think about when I quit drinking, like I didn't really want to do that at first. Like I was trying all the ways to not embrace that. Like I was trying, to moderate different ways, and like, okay, I'll only drink on weekends, and different kinds of things, and like trying all these things to to get out of that, get out of having to do it. But I knew deep down, I just knew in my heart, like I was like, I'm gonna have to do this. But I keep doing all these things to resist. And it just created more suffering. I mean, it just prolonged that experience of suffering, really. I think of a good example is like swimming in a current, like swimming in a river, or I'm from Florida, so I think of like swimming at the beach and getting like caught in a riptide, and you're swimming and struggling and trying to get to the shore. And the more you struggle with that, the more you try and to fight it, the more chance you're going to like tire yourself out. You're going to maybe drown even. But if you can somehow relax into that and go with the flow, even if you're freaking out in your mind, if you can relax your body and just go with it, you'll eventually come to a still space in that river, or you'll get out of that rip current and you can swim to shore safely. Um, so I think that's a good like analogy of like struggling against something so hard that it's just going to wear you out and tire you out so badly. But if you just went with the flow, it might it might suck, but eventually it's going to be good, and you're going to be able to get out of that and be on the other side of it.
I was just going
Yeah,
to say, I love that analogy. I think that's perfect.
yeah. So I think the medicine for that is acceptance, right? So being able to embrace that in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a beautiful metaphor and a beautiful kind of connection to it. I'm down at the beach right now, experiencing the ocean waves, so I connected with that one.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, what does the process look like when it comes to making all these big changes in your life?
I think you have to not think like I had a hard time thinking about like the whole big picture. Like this is a huge thing. It's a huge lifestyle change. And it can be anything. I mean, we're talking about drinking, but it could be, an illness or diagnosis or dealing with grief or anything like that. Any kind of big change in your life. I think you just have to start with just one small step, right? You can't think about the whole thing. There's this saying of like, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time, right? You can't get too far ahead of yourself. So just one small step. You identify what you know, like deep in your heart, you want to change, if it's a situation or a habit, and then identify just one little obstacle that you need to get rid of, and then just take one tiny little step towards getting rid of that, and then repeat, gain confidence. And I think you'll start to believe that you can do this thing, the more and more that you just repeat this tiny little process. And then it's easier to wrap your head around. So I think of like joining one of your challenges, right? For being able to stop drinking. If that's the thing that you want to change, maybe you think, okay, my obstacle is I don't have any support. Everyone around me drinks. I was in that situation where I had, no friends, no family that didn't drink. I had stopped drinking a little bit before I joined your first 30-day challenge, but then I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make this like with no support. So I joined a challenge, and I found this beautiful community of people, like-minded people, and got that support. And I just kept taking one more step, just one small step at a time. So I think that's how you eat the elephant, right? One little tiny, tiny step towards the change.
I love that. I've never heard that how do you eat an elephant thing, but that's great. And it's so true. It's just like little steps, one thing at a time, just doing the next right thing. What practices can support you in doing all of this?
I think it's incredibly important to develop a personal practice. I'm a big fan of having a morning practice. I particularly like a morning practice. I think it sets the tone for the day, whether that is asana, traditional yoga postures, a yoga class, or if it's breath work or meditation, just something in the morning to help set that tone. And if you like I'm a very busy person, and a lot of my mornings are kind of chaos, or can be. I have like a weekend routine that I do that's like 20 minutes, and then on a weekday, sometimes I'm struggling to get out the door. So I'm like, well, I need to do something for a minute, 5 minutes, chop my routine up into little bite-sized pieces so I can just do something to set the tone for the day. And I think that's incredibly important to develop. You have a lot of great programs that people can join to do yoga and breath work. I know there's a lot of resources that people can turn to be able to develop something like that.
And Renee is also, as you were talking, I was thinking you're also a Vedic meditator. We did mantra meditation training together in January, and it didn't absorb yet for me. Like I needed a bit more hand holding. And so ended up doing it with Rory in September. I did an in-person training with him, and I think that was what I needed. But are you still in practice of that type of meditation?
I am. I am a big fan of it. For my personal practice, that is what I love to do. I love to do that in the morning. I do a lot of guided meditations for others and things like that. I have not developed doing mantra meditation for others yet, but it is in my plan to do to bring that to other people because it just is so supportive. It has changed. It's changed my days, like being able to do that. And I love to be able to bookend the day with that, like have the morning practice and the afternoon or evening practice. I personally still struggle with the afternoon or evening practice, I will admit. but yeah, I love a Vedic meditation. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Amazing. Okay, well, I was wondering if you could give us an example of a meditation practice, not Vedic, but some kind of like guided practice that can support.
Sure.
Cool.
I would love to. Yes. So, wherever you are, if you want to come into a comfortable seated shape, just allow the spine to be long. If you are able to close the eyes or settle the gaze, if you're listening to this while you're driving, that might not be safe, but if you are able to, just close down the eyes. Just take deep breaths in and out. And let's just rub the palms together. We'll generate a little bit of heat. And then place the palms directly on the heart space. Take a big breath in and a big breath out. Keeping the attention at the heart. Just check in with yourself. See if you can identify one thing that you know you want to change. Could be a habit, a situation, maybe a feeling around a relationship. See whatever that is in as much detail as you can. Now bring the palms to rest gently over the eyes. And see if you can identify one obstacle that's standing in the way of making that change. Now just begin to gently sweep the palms down the face, down the neck, down the shoulders, down the torso, maybe down the legs, down the arms, just getting that energy of that obstacle away from you. If it feels heavy and you want to flick the fingers or shake the hands, that might be good. Just releasing that energy. And then just bring the palms to rest back gently on the heart space. Take a big breath in and a clearing breath out. Now bring to mind one small step you could take today in the direction of making that change. And visualize yourself stepping forward, leading from the heart, leading from love. And I invite you to repeat the following affirmations in your head or out loud. I inhale love and exhale my fears. I embrace the beauty of growing and learning. I allow myself to focus on one small step at a time. I am excited to try something new. Release the palms from the heart space, allowing them to settle in a comfortable position in the lap. Let's take one more big breath in together. And one more exhale. You can allow the eyes to flicker open, coming back into the space.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was such a gift. Thank you so much, Renee. You're um, such a gifted teacher, and something I share when I'm teaching about leading meditations is that there's a difference between like, people that guide a meditation versus people where you can like really feel their meditative energy. Like you can feel that they're in practice. They're like they're sharing that energy with you and they guide. And that's how I feel about you. Like I can just feel and connect to the energy that's present in the practice um, that you've committed to. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
So beautiful. Okay, I have one last question for you. Um, what advice would you give to someone who wants to go alcohol free but hasn't yet started yet?
Just stay curious. Stay curious about it. Have a student's mind about it. Just like think of like what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this opportunity? Um, and just remember to just take one little bite at a time, one small step at a time, and then just follow wherever that's leading, and just take the next small step and the next small step and the next small step, and just don't think about the whole thing at one time. It's my biggest piece of advice.
I love that. Renee, this was amazing. Such an incredible session. I'm so glad that I know you and I'm connected with you. I find you so inspiring. And thank you for sharing all your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for having me. And thank you for building this beautiful community. It has supported me in so many ways. So thank you.